The Mario series has tons of really good power-ups. However, there are just some power-ups that are not good. In this video, I will be going over all of the worst Mario power-ups. With that being said, let's get right into it. So first off, I want to talk about the Poison Mushroom. Now, the Poison Mushroom out of the gate is one of the worst Mario power-ups of all time, and that's because the Poison Mushroom really isn't a power-up. Yeah, they're sometimes called a power-up, but they act more like a hindrance or a trap. The Poison Mushroom makes its first appearance in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, and honestly, since then, it's only showed up in 1 or 2 games, specifically the Super Mario Advance port of Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario 3D Land. Why this power-up decided to show up in Super Mario 3D Land, I have no clue. But the Poison Mushroom also shows up in other Mario spin-off games. It's not exactly the worst, but if you look at those other spin-offs, it shows pretty much the exact same effects. But for being pretty much the opposite of the Super Mushroom, it deserves a place on this list. And next up on the list, we're going to be talking about the Boomerang Flower. Now, the Boomerang Flower is very interesting, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. But what I feel makes the Boomerang Flower, I feel, a little bit less powerful than the Fire Flower is the fact that you can only shoot out one projectile at a time. And the fact that you have to throw out the boomerang and then wait for the boomerang to return to you before you're able to use it again. If you compare that to, say, the Fire Flower, spam the Fire Flower button and throw out at least 3 projectiles on screen at once, the choice becomes pretty obvious to me whether I'd want to choose the Fire Flower or the Boomerang Flower. It's not that the Boomerang Flower is bad, it's just I think the alternatives to the Boomerang Flower have always been better, and for that, I think it deserves a place on this list. Now, next up on the list, I want to go over the Cannon Box. Now, the Cannon Box was introduced in Super Mario 3D World, and basically what it is a cannon power-up. Yeah, you're able to shoot cannonballs in front of you, it's pretty interesting, and this power-up only shows up in a couple of levels. However, when you think of Super Mario 3D World's list of power-ups, you never think about the Cannon Box. And honestly, that's for a very good reason, because the Cannon Box is really underpowered, and it's really forgettable. Like, yeah, it's in Super Mario Maker 2, I guess, and you can charge it, which makes it slightly more memorable, but to me, the Cannon Box just doesn't compare to the rest of the power-ups in Super Mario 3D World, and for that, I think it deserves a place on this list. Now, next up on the list, I want to go with the Builder Mario power-up from Super Mario Maker 2. Now, before making this video, I forgot this power-up even existed. You're able to, like, use your hammer to, like, hammer enemies, like, directly in front of you, which is pretty neat. You're able to defeat, like, really big enemies, like Thwomps with it, but I would say attack-wise, this is one of the weaker power-ups. Plus, it has a little bit of utility with you being able to drop boxes on the ground, which is a very interesting idea I think fits the game of Super Mario Maker 2. However, I've barely seen anyone use this power-up in their Mario Maker 2 levels, and honestly, even if they did, this power-up is really not that great. And next up on the list, we have the Hammer Suit from Super Mario Bros. 3. Honestly, this is one of the more interesting power-ups that hasn't shown up since Mario Bros. 3. However, I feel the reason why this power-up hasn't shown up in a Mario game since 1988 is because it's not that great. Now, hear me out. Why would I pick up a power-up where I have to throw my projectiles in an arc pattern when I could just pick up the Fire Flower, which shoots directly in front of me? Now, there is something pretty interesting to note about the Hammer Suit. You're also allowed to block enemies' fireballs by crouching, which I didn't know about. However, the niche uses for the Hammer Suit just make it a lot less practical than just picking up a Fire Flower, and for that, I'd say it's one of the worst. And next up on the list, I want to talk about the Spring Mushroom. Now, what the Spring Mushroom does is it transforms you into Spring Mario, which basically allows you to jump higher. However, the problem is, Spring Mario is an absolute nightmare to control. Now, if you've played Super Mario Galaxy 1 or Super Mario Galaxy 2, you should know exactly how terrible this is. Now, I really like the idea of the Spring Mushroom, but if you bundle that with you not being able to use the spin jump for Mario Galaxy, you're in for a really tough time, because controlling it is like throwing a slinky dog down the stairs. And for that, I never want to see this power-up ever again. And next up, we're going to be talking about the Drill Mushroom from Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, what this power-up does is it basically acts like the drill from Super Mario Galaxy, but the main downside to the Drill Mushroom from Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the fact that it wasn't used nearly as much as I thought it was going to be. Like, I feel like the concept of the drill mushroom could have been executed really, really well. However, there's only really a couple of levels in the entire game that take advantage of the potential of the drill mushroom. And the fact that you can't use the drill mushroom on normal platforms really takes the fun out of this power-up. Since you can only really use the drill mushroom on dirt, grass, sand, it's not a bad power-up. I just feel like the potential of this power-up was not taken to its full advantage. And for that, I am disappointed. Now, next up on the list, I want to go over the coin box. Now, what the coin box does is it's basically a temporary power-up which allows you to spawn coins out of your head, which to me isn't very exciting. If I have anything above, say, a regular mushroom Mario, I would rather not even pick up the coin box. And I'm basically just sitting there running around, spawning coins above my head. I know a lot of people like the coin box, and in Super Mario 3D Land, apparently it did not have a limit, but really, what are you gonna do? The coin box is a temporary power-up, and it's not even a good one at that. And for that, I'd say it's probably one of the worst. And finally, to finish off this video, I want to go over probably one of the most infamous power-ups in Mario history, and that is the mini mushroom. Now, what to me makes the mini mushroom so abysmally terrible is the fact that the mini mushroom is used to unlock secret exits. Now, if the mini mushroom were truly optional, I think I'd give the mini mushroom a bit more of a pass. But when you're 1, more weak than you were with Small Mario, and 2, you're as floaty as a hot air balloon, something just isn't right. I think the mini mushroom fans are justified in their love for this power-up, because at the end of the day, the mini mushroom is really fun to use. However, I don't think the mini mushroom is practical, and if anything, it gives you more of a challenge. And depending on how you feel about that, it could either be one of the best power-ups of all time, or one of the worst power-ups of all time. But what do you think? Do you think the mini mushroom is really that bad? And make sure to comment down below what kind of power-ups you think are the worst power-ups in Mario history. And after you do that, feel free to check out any of the videos on screen right now. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.